President-elect Donald Trump was speaking to Steve Bannon on Sirius XM's Breitbart News Daily, a great program that you should listen to when you want to slit your wrists. And during their discussion, they specifically talked about people immigrating or coming to the United States to go to Ivy League schools and how a lot of them go back to the countries that they came from. Now, interestingly enough, Donald Trump thinks that we need to give them more of an incentive to stay here in the U.S. because they're the best and brightest and they could actually really help our society. He says when someone is going to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Penn, Stanford, all the greats, we throw them out of the country and they can't get back in. I think that's terrible, he says. Again, this is Donald Trump. We have to be careful of that, Steve. You know, we have to keep our talented people in this country. Now,
so can I just interject there? Yeah. So these comments were made on November 5th of 2015. So that's in the heart of the run-up to the election, okay? So Trump's in the primaries. He's doing well. He goes on this show, and he's already railing against immigration. He wants to kick most people out. But he's like, look, if we're going to make money off of them, I am Donald Trump. So let's keep the guys in here that are rich or could be rich. Right? Now, look, a lot of people want to keep those folks. We also want to keep folks who came in here to work hard who aren't already rich or going to Penn and Stanford, et cetera. But, you know, this is not the worst thing he said. This is, you know, overall, at least he's being honest about he does want to keep some immigrants in.
Yeah.
So that's not the issue here. The issue is what Steve Bannon says afterwards.
Now, Steve Bannon was kind of like, wait, what? What? Like, you know, because he expects Donald Trump to not be in favor of anyone staying in the country. And so Steve Bannon responds with the following. When 2/3 or 3/4 of the CEOs in Silicon Valley are from South Asia or from Asia, I think a country is more than an economy. We're a civic society. So essentially what he's saying is, we got a little too many Asians and Indians living in Silicon Valley. And so, and having high positions in tech companies in Silicon Valley. So we need to do away with that. More white people as CEOs. Now, let me give you the numbers before we comment on what he said. Now, in May of 2015, a study actually found that 27% of professionals working in Silicon Valley companies were Asian or Asian Americans. They represented less than 19% of managers and under 14% of executives. So no, 2/3 of them are not CEOs. Yes, there is a, you know, large chunk of the Silicon Valley workforce that's made up of Asians and Indians, but overall, no, they're not all CEOs. White people still have an advantage when it comes to that.
Overwhelmingly white CEOs, but not good enough for Steve Bannon because he sees some Asians and Indians over there. So let's break this down. So first of all, he says a country's more than an economy. In other words, even if they're rich, I don't really want them because they're not white. He says we're a civic society. And what's wrong with Asians being in a civic society? Why is South Asians being successful in America a bad thing for a civic society? Because if you see the context of Steve Bannon and the other comments he's made, he talks about how America has a Judeo-Christian heritage. So now some of those Indians are Hindu, some of the Asians are Buddhist. But really, he's not really inquiring much into their religion. For all he knows, they could be Korean and deeply Christian, right? Mm-hmm. No, but they're not really white. And that's a problem for him. So I'd like to ask a couple of questions of Steve Bannon. First is, are you crying? So are you saying, oh no, boo-hoo, white people couldn't compete with Asians? Please protect me, Donald. I wasn't smart enough to be CEO in the Valley. Now, Steve Bannon, believe it or not, has a good education, worked at Goldman Sachs, but now he's got demoted to running some, you know, third-rate blog until Trump picked him up and put him in the White House, right? So, what did you not make it in the business world, Stevie? Oh, there's too many Asians. The next question I have for you, Steve, is would you like affirmative action for white people? Are you afraid you can't compete with Asians and Indians, so you need a little bit of affirmative action? We need more white CEOs. And if we just let the Valley pick on merit, they pick too many Asians. Please give me affirmative action. I'm Steve Bannon, and I've been triggered. I need a safe space.
Yeah, it's amazing, by the way. It's amazing because the same group of people in the country that say that they're in favor of like the First Amendment and free speech or whatever are the same people who get triggered by the simplest things, right? Who can't handle the notion of intelligent non-whites having high positions in American companies. And by the way, again, the numbers and the proof is in the pudding. It's not like, we have this prevalence of Asians or South Asians taking over as CEOs in Silicon Valley. That's just not the case. And even if it were the case, who cares? Why is that such a big deal? Now, look, if Steve Bannon wanted to touch on the issue of H-1B visas and how tech companies in Silicon Valley are firing American workers because they can take in these immigrants and pay them a lot less, well, then you have an issue there, right? But that would have to do with regulating corporations, something that I'm sure Steve Bannon has no interest in doing. But just simply hating people because of their background is something that he's in favor of. And so, yeah,
So that's a great point by Anna.
Yeah.
So don't make that weak sauce excuse about H-1B visas. These are CEOs he's talking about, and he didn't say visas. He said we need a civic society. Okay? So, and in the other times, they use excuses like, oh, well, Muslims, I don't like them because they're a security threat. Well, in reality, there's 7 times as much right-wing terrorism in America as Muslim terrorism, but we don't call all right-wingers a security threat. It's an excuse to treat them as the other and to discriminate against them. Now they use words like global financial interests. What we're worried is that it intimates the Jews, because that is what it's meant in the past. Okay. You think, no, I don't think there's any such thing as coded words, etc. Okay, then let's look at this one. You told me all your life, right wing just means meritocracy. That's all we want is a meritocracy. But they come in here, these blacks and Latinos, and they want something for nothing, and they want affirmative action. And it has nothing to do with race. We just want capitalism, unfettered capitalism. We got unfettered capitalism, and in a meritocracy, some percentage of executives in the Valley are Asians and Indians. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. See, now it's naked racism. You forgot to put a fig leaf on it. So this guy is now the chief strategist for the president-elect. He's already been named. So if you're Asian in this country, or you're South Asian, understand who's in charge now. So if you think that this guy's your friend, he isn't. Donald Trump is nowhere near your friend. Remember, Donald Trump's on the program with Steve Bannon. It's not like Steve Bannon said this in some blog somewhere and Trump, oh, well, you can't hold him responsible. He probably didn't read it. He was on the air with him. Trump heard that and then hired him to be his chief strategist. Now you know. Don't say you weren't warned. The Young Turks isn't just us. It's also you guys. You make this show possible. And we want to thank you for it, and we want to grow together. We want to be too strong. TYTnetwork.com/join. Let's do it.